Okay, we'll start over for everybody online. If you're called in, dialed in on the telephone on Zoom, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *9 to put your hand back down. Once you're called upon, *6 will unmute your phone and *6 will mute it again. Is there any staff or trustee additions or deletions to the agenda or consent agenda?
Staff has no additions.
I would like to, if we could, move item number 6, the discussion and possible action for the agreement with the medical center, move that up to number 1 under new business, just in case there's any time sensitive needs from the folks at the medical center. With that change, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion by Dr. Thompson, a second by Mr. Douglas. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. Public comments, Ms. Lindley.
Good evening. Several years ago, Representative Costello made a bill that would have given the public the right to vote on independent tax districts, that have taxing authority. The bill failed. And what his bill was is that if you felt that if you're going to be taxed, you should have some say so in this, but it didn't happen. But as a board member, you were elected. You're not elected, you're appointed by the governor's office, and you take an oath of office to uphold the laws of the state of Florida and uphold the Constitution. The statute law states 189.0692A16 states that at least 7 days before each meeting, the agenda of the event, along with any information and the meeting materials, are available in that electronic format, should be on the website. That did not happen this time. This was not done for this meeting. I researched this, and there's no excuses for not having this information on the website. These items for discussion action should be postponed until next month, but as normally, you guys do not follow the rules, so I can't stop you board members from taking action. If so, continue on. I'm opposed to the agreement with Partnership for Strong Families. There's no reason for Cynthia and Sonia to take their time, go to Richardson Center. If these people need assistance, let them walk down here, let them drive down here, but we do not need to hand feed these people and fill out the forms. If they can't read or write, there should be somebody there to assist them, and I'm opposed to entering any agreement. The other thing, I am totally supportive of the board approving the agreement with the Lake City Medical Center to be a provider of indigent care services. The Lake City Medical Center has provided thousands and thousands of dollars over the years in the form of taxes for operating capital for this Lakeshore Hospital Authority board. And I think it's only a good thing that they be a provider. Plus, it would eliminate us of having to do something with that building over there that would cost millions to fix. And there's nobody jumping out to say, I want to operate it. And as a board member, you took this oath, and it only makes good financial sense to make them be a provider. And the board needs to proceed further in declaring all the outbuildings and the hospital building itself as surplus property and let somebody else take it over. Dale had mentioned something about the coroner's office, but we don't need to spend between $85,000, $100,000 a month for these buildings. Security alone is almost $3,000 a week, the electric. And so you guys need to do something, because if I was sitting up there, I wouldn't want this on my watch that I foolishly spent taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindley. Just to clarify, you did receive the backup materials. The agenda was up, I think, 11 days prior, and then you did receive the backup materials.
I know, but it was not on the website.
Mr. Coberline, as far as the statute goes, could you clarify that for us, please?
Mr. Chairman, when the speaker was at the podium, she gave the impression that she was reading from the statute. the words that she read are not the words that are in the statute, so I don't know what it was that she was reading from.
It was 189.
Yes, ma'am.
0.069
Yes, ma'am.
to A16.
There's no such number.
2018,
It's 15.
15 then.
But you said the agenda and materials. Is that in your copy?
Well, I typed something, but if you want to, I'll pull it up and send it to you.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, I have a copy of the current Florida statute. And it's actually, she was correct. It's 189.069 to 15. And it says, within 7 days shall publish the agenda. It does not say agenda and additional materials as was reported being read to you. It just says publish the agenda. And that makes you in full compliance with Florida law.
So you're comfortable with us proceeding?
You are
with
in
the
full
meeting?
compliance with Florida law.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Coberline. Are there any comments from anybody on the Zoom application? Seeing none, we'll move to approve the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion. A motion by Ms. Chancey, a second by Dr. Thompson. All in favor, signal by saying aye. All opposed, that motion carries. Move down to new business. Mr. Williams, would you introduce these? Yes, sir. Just give us an update, and then if they have anything that they want to show us or any questions for them, if we can move them up to the.
You want me to go ahead and address the one with their contract?
Yes, sir. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the agenda, we have scheduled a discussion with possible action. The Lakeshore Hospital Authority contracting with the Lake City Medical Center to be a provider in our program. I believe it was in February where officials from the hospital came and made a presentation. And of course, most of those are present with you tonight. So if there are questions to be asked, they are here. You have seen this agreement, and this agreement has been reviewed by legal counsel. There are 4 things that I believe need to be brought to your attention that should be considered when you are deliberating whether to approve or not approve. One is the agreement refers to authority patients. As you well know, technically the authority can't have patients. So it is suggested that in lieu of the word patients, they insert the word clients. Secondly, it refers to Lakeshore Hospital Authority as a entity. It is preferred that it say the Lakeshore Hospital, Lakeshore Buildings instead of hospital. I think in talking to Fred felt like this would eliminate any future debate about whether it meant just the hospital or the hospital complex. So there are those 2. And then, of course, when it was discussed back in February, Ms. Chancey brought up that she would like to see the agreement include the right to inspect charts by the authority. And I think at that time, what was responded to on the part of the medical center was they would and could consider that, but it would be subject to a legal review on their end. And then, of course, the 4th thing I wish to mention to you is, as it is currently structured, this terminates on September 30th and then renews annually. There are 6 months left in our review process to see if we can find an operator for the hospital, and if so, to what extent. I don't know that that would ever become an issue with this contract, but I think it's worth mentioning. It would appear that probably no conflicts would exist in the future. However, I don't know that. and I think you should be aware of it just in case. So there are those 4 issues that I would ask for, that I would recommend you consider prior to taking action.
You ask me questions?
Yes, sir.
2 questions. One, just one was the proposal by Lake City Medical Center submitted to the board? Because you mentioned February, but that's when
That's when
Mr. Naylor spoke.
Yes, sir. It would have been considerably before that when it was actually disseminated originally.
Right.
Yeah, it was in 2020. I know that.
I just wanted to. And then the second question, one of the things that used to frustrate me a lot was, when they would read 300 visits, not you, but I mean, when Rhonda would read 300 visits to the ER, 8% were authority patients, but yet 292 were indigent patients without insurance from Columbia County who just hadn't filled out the paper. You know what I mean? So we are qualifying them based on the, what's that credit agency that we were using, that we were going to use?
TransUnion.
What's the process of reimbursing for those patients? Is it they have to have an authority card, or TransUnion if they qualified twice the poverty level with TransUnion? Or so we don't get into the same mess.
Dr. T, currently it would work exactly how it did work prior to TransUnion.
Okay.
So the hospital obviously could accept any pre-qualified client of the authority, and based on the schedule of payments, we have the right to bill for the service. Secondly, and of course we hope this happens, is that they help us qualify people who come into their ER for our program.
Can they qualify to point of service?
Yes, qualify for the service, and they have up to 90 days to do so.
Okay.
And that is what is in your current program and plan. So, we hope that that's the easiest, best way to capture.
Yeah. Are you aware of that? Just, because that's going to be the key piece.
I was not aware, but we can certainly do that. That would not be a
That's going to be a key piece. Otherwise, we're going to be in the same situation that we've been in for years. You know what I mean? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to clarify the chart checking only because that has been a requirement since the inception of the program. And that way, when we spend our taxpayer money, we know exactly we've got the backup for it.
We definitely can allow the charts to be audited. That we have regular insurance companies. Blue Cross comes in typically once a year and audits. They'll do a sample, or you can pull them. But we definitely will allow audits of the charts.
Okay.
Absolutely, 100%.
Ours would occur much more often.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't be able to release publicly what was wrong with the patient.
No.
Those would have to be confidential audits for, from the patient's perspective, for what was wrong with them. But, you absolutely can audit. Absolutely.
But part of the program is they sign off that that is
Yes.
available to us.
Yeah.
So,
Right. That's not a problem at all.
So can I make a motion that I'd like to make a motion that we vote on the Lakeshore Hospital Authority Medical Assistance Plan, Service Provision Agreement between Lakeshore Hospital Authority and wait a minute, where is it? Proposed hospital payment agreement with Lake City Medical Center. I'm sorry, I got confused.
Do you want to do that with changes noted by Dale with the verbiage?
Yeah, let me restate that. I'd like to propose that we vote on the authority with the proposed hospital payment agreement with Lake City Medical Center with the changes mentioned by our executive director.
Don't usually vote on something because then if it's passed, then all you do is that we don't have a vote. Just remove it and approve it.
Okay. I'll restate that. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the service provision agreement between Lakeshore Hospital Authority Medical Assistance Plan with proposed hospital payment agreement with Lake City Medical Center with the changes that you suggested.
You, Mr. Williams.
Correct.
Second.
We got a motion by Dr. Thompson, a second by Mr. Douglas.
Could we ask a question?
Sure.
Could we just clarify the fourth item of the 6 months left? Does that mean you would not make it effective until 10/1?
No, we're gonna make it effective unless they change it immediately.
Okay,
We just need to make sure that we have one out in there before the regular schedule kicks in,
okay.
just in case,
So
Jill.
just an out cause, but it would be effective. Okay.
I don't really think it'll be an issue, but you know, you try to build or front load as much of that in there as you can. to avoid it. But now we get any comments, we're good to go.
Thank you, Seth.
Any further discussion?
The only question I have is when will we get updates as a board on how this is going?
And previously, Rhonda would come monthly just to kind of give us an update on numbers and how many uninsured patients were presented, and then how many of them were authority patients for ER and inpatient as well. So, I mean, whatever the board wishes, as far as it be at our monthly meetings or quarterly updates or however.
I would say because that keeps us, it is effective.
Yeah.
Sure. It would take us just a little bit of time to get our processes in place.
Yeah.
But monthly would be fine. There's no reason why we would not be able to.
And when the report came through, those were not the people that were paid, those were just the ones that appeared. Okay, now paying them is after all the paperwork.
Yeah.
Which we all know takes forever.
We'll try to make sure we mirror, exactly what Lakeshore was able. We have a wealth of information, so we'll work with Dale and his team if that's okay. Once and try to provide whatever the board is accustomed, and we will come monthly to
Yeah,
present.
not only is it okay, it's most welcome, and I strongly suggest that, you get with Cynthia and Sonia. They pretty much have done this for so many years. They can tell you where they have issues and some of the things that come up, and things that we can do, those that we can't, and just makes for a lot smoother transition.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say to my fellow trustees, they have some of the best equipment in the hospitals. Yeah, I mean, it would be an advantage.
Absolutely. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye. All opposed, that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, can I bring up another point related to this?
Sure.
You said it's effective immediately.
As soon as the contract's decided.
Is there, because it would be an odd day, it would be an odd time, it'd be the 12th or the 13th. Can we make it effective once the contracts are signed, effective April 1st? So it's a neat beginning of the month.
Not without going back and changing it.
Really?
It says effective immediately in it.
Okay, we'll let it go then.
But what you can do is just make sure that he signs it on the first day of May or whatever.
Okay,
You can sign it.
It's effective upon execution by the authority.
I'll withdraw that then.
Sign
All right. Mr. Williams.
Okay, next item, Mr. Chairman, is we have resolution number 2021-005. This is a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority of Trinity County, Florida, ratifying the chairman's extension of the state of emergency arising from the COVID-19 public health emergency. And we would ask your approval.
Entertain a motion.
Don't you say so moved, motion to approve? I'm trying to think of it. She's got a faster way to say
So
it.
moved.
So moved. I'll go down on the record as so moved. If we were still in the.
Motion by Mr. Douglas, a second by Dr. Thompson. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
And then, of course, in accordance with the previous resolution extending the state of emergency, which was number 2020-004, the chair issued proclamations extending that from the period of March 12th, 2021 through April, which will be through April 15th of 2021. And we ask your approval of those proclamations.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, pertains to the transition plan. And of course, this is the plan that I've been giving you each meeting to kind of keep you abreast and updated as to what's going on as it relates to Lakeshore Hospital as a building. As you're aware, we initially had 6 employees that we started with. And the initial 6 months employment for those employees just recently ended. So included in this transitional report, I've updated, and the most significant update deals with the employees. And what we have done is the administrative assistant, which was Angie Altman. Angie has taken a position elsewhere. So that position is gone and it's not to be refilled as part of what we're doing. So the administrative assistant's position is gone. The director of facility operations, which is Denby, and of course the 2 maintenance techs that work for Denby. I work with Fred, we work with the Division of Labor, FRS, those issues. So we're going to continue to employ them, but they will be employed by contract. And there are copies of those 3 contracts that were made part of your agenda packet. And I would ask that when you approve the transition plan tonight, that you approve and authorize the approval of those 3 agreements. They pretty much are straightforward. No money has changed. No benefits have changed, but they are contractual in nature. And pretty much this is it. I mean, at the end or the expiration of these agreements, unless these employees are to be made full-time or there's another operator on site, we're kind of getting to the end of what we can cycle in and out and do on a temporary basis. So I just want to make sure we're all aware of that.
How are we with the IT? Is that?
Okay, the IT is next. There are 2 of those positions. Currently, they've been furloughed without pay. The reason they've been furloughed is we have been working on an agreement with an existing IT company to come in on an hourly as needed basis and perform that work. In fact, the guy that owns that company is very familiar with those systems down at the hospital because he used to work there. But we do not have that finalized yet. So as of right now, if we have an IT issue, we're basically covering it, hopefully through our normal channels. And hopefully nothing specialized comes up until we have a way to address it and it's in place. So it looks like at the end of the day, we're going to go to 3 contractual employees and 1 IT contract. And that will be the support staff for that facility until final decisions are made regarding it. And then, of course, we updated the other information for your use, for you to review at your leisure. But I would ask that when the transition plan is approved, that you include those 3 employment agreements.
How long did it push them out? 5 months? Yeah, there it is. Term. I saw that term. Term is 5 more months and 29 days.
Yeah, 6 months less a day.
Okay.
just in case you're wondering, I mean, you'll recall when you initially hired me, we talked about me being hired contractually. Well, apparently FRS views the position of executive director differently than they view some of the other positions, because this was one of the positions that existed when you created and enrolled in the FRS. So it's not something they take lightly. They make it very clear that if you're going to employ somebody contractually, they want to know for sure they're a contractual type employee. Otherwise, everybody would be hiring employees contractually instead of, W-2, just where they could avoid the FRS contribution. That's what they're looking for. So the answer was still no on my position. They still don't think that's going to fly. So just thought I'd mention it.
Any questions or a motion to approve it with the 3 contracts?
Maybe I'm crazy. 6 months, long enough to get, we've got the presentation coming with Shan's and then.
Oh, it's going to have to be because we don't control it.
Because it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Okay. I'm just thinking of time frames on how long it's going to take for somebody to go.
It's a good point. Believe you me, we believe the argument is.
Okay.
That's why I made the comment I did earlier. That's it.
Well, did you say Shane's was coming?
I have not said when Shan was coming. I spoke to Shan's for the board's knowledge last week, and they assured me that we will be getting a proposal, but I still don't have a date.
Why even bother?
It might be
They
a home
might-
run. Who knows?
Yeah, it might be a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unknowns.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the summary with the 3 contracts as stated.
So moved.
Got a motion by Ms. Chancey, a second by Dr. Thompson. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
In the March 8th trustee meeting, we discussed an invoice which has been submitted by CHS to the trustees. It was for services rendered. However, for whatever reason, they failed to bill us for those services. And during that discussion, the trustees requested that Fred provide a legal opinion as to whether we were legally obligated in any way to pay that delinquent bill. Fred's opinion is included and was made part of your agenda packet. And in short, Fred's opinion says a lot more than what I'm about to say. I will say that it says, real quick.
Can we paraphrase it for you?
Yeah, read it for me, Jack.
The first sentence of the last paragraph says that the board under no contractual duty to pay it, but the board may pay it. If the board chooses to pay it in order to avoid establishing precedent, you should put a good factual basis in the motion, such as we just terminated a $7 million contract and this was a de minimis oversight or something of that nature.
So as long as we give good reason for paying it, that's not a setting precedent for
Correct.
future
I mean,
pop-up.
if you happen to have another $7.9 million contract that terminates next year and another $1,700 bill next year, you have a precedent.
I move that we not pay this bill.
Sure.
That is my motion.
We got a motion,
I'll second that.
got a second discussion.
And the reason that I make this motion is it will set a precedent, as he said, that will not just affect us, it will affect many other areas to do with medicine. And I don't think that we should do that. They terminated the lease. They gave us nothing other than what was written in the lease. And they terminated it. And they said they severed everything. Once they severed everything, we're not responsible for anything, and they're not responsible for anything. But going beyond that, an insurance company, if you don't bill them within a certain amount of time, they don't care. They don't pay.
We're not an insurance company.
No, I didn't say we were. But it would set a precedent in a lot of other areas.
Further discussion?
I just hate not to be, I hate not to pay one, but I get it.
The motion on the floor is to not pay the invoice, the amount of $1768.38. And got a motion by Ms. Chancey, a second by Dr. Thompson. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
The next item, trustee, is a service provision agreement between the authority and Partnership for Strong Families Incorporated. If you read the agreement, it's pretty obvious that the partnership is a conglomeration of various services and organizations that can provide aid and assistance to certain qualifying individuals. And of course, that is one of many avenues that we as an authority can use to try to reach clients and enroll them in our program. They do on occasion have like days where they go out into various neighborhoods and invite people rather than just walk-ins. And we can participate in some of these drives and tell people about our program and hopefully enroll people as we go. There's no cost to participate here. This is really to us a potential way to do some outreach to get our product and our program out. So I see no reason in the world that you would not participate in this. One of the organizers of this is Pastor Mobley, who I think most of you have met. He is doing his very best to assist this program in every way that he can, and that's appreciated. And if you should decide you want to approve the agreement, and I certainly recommend you do, there is one requested change. Service, as it is currently written, is to go to Fred as attorney. That should be changed to go to the authority office to the executive director. It's just where official mail will go. And so with that one change, Mr. Chairman will ask for the trustees to see. Yes, sir.
Would I be able to ask Sonia and Cindy to make a comment? Would that affect any of their work performance here?
No. No.
Can I ask them or not?
Sure.
You have it, would it affect any of you would be going out, you and Cindy would be going out? Is that-
Probably Cynthia more so than me because that's more her, job.
Is there any problem with that as far as you see?
Not at all.
Okay,
I'll be more than happy to, because when there are health fair events, I go out and represent the authority already.
okay,
So this is almost like going to a health fair event, but
okay.
it's a partnership. I will go there, have our applications, answer questions, assist people. So I wouldn't have a problem.
But eventually they have to come here to have their picture
But
taken.
they will
right?
eventually have to come here to have their picture taken.
Right, right. Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't have a problem.
The only question I have is in the proposal under item 6.
Yeah.
F. Lakeshore will ensure that its staff and other representatives that will be working with the children have been background screened level 2, what that is,
That's the
including,
Jessica, I'm sorry.
including social security verification.
I don't think that would fall under us. Bill.
Well, this is a
It's-
standard form of agreement. It is in there, but of course, we don't work with children. But what that is that's part of that
And that was one of the things, a lot of times when people know that there's going to be, they want people involved to hear the backgrounds.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Good, I'm not a
All right, so Ms. Johnson, just for clarification, do we need to write some language in the agreement, or do we just want a letter or something from Partnership for Families saying they understand and agree, or how do we want to do this?
We, just a letter from them if they will exclude us from that, or what is required. So that, I mean, I don't want to send Cynthia over there and have somebody get there all up in the air, and all of a sudden she's accused of something that she doesn't have this.
Well, the qualify, I know this because I've been around so many people that had to qualify, people working in recreation and et cetera. You know, it's basically a background check. They
Yeah.
are required to give fingerprints, things of that nature.
Okay, which is an expense to us, but, you know, I think that it would be worth it.
If you look at 5, the factors that the hospital authority is going to get involved in don't include children. It's the first one and the penultimate one.
Yes, I
So there's no
understand that.
working with children.
We will not be directly working with children, but because this is a family place, there will be children there. And rather than put anybody in a place where fingers get pointed because there are children there, to have someone totally cleared covers whoever we send there.
Or excluded. Or excluded.
Well, I don't know. I think the judge is right, because it does, those are the 2 boxes that are checked. The only thing that we're going to be doing is the concrete support and the parental resilience. So
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm saying it's more CYA.
I don't certainly have no problem asking for the letter.
Because I think we're all aware that things happen and other people get dragged into it.
Yeah.
And our people need to be protected as much as possible.
Do I make that a motion?
Now, what I'm asking is that we get a letter.
before we approve it,
Well, no, I don't see why we couldn't approve it via
Contingent, right?
contingency.
Yeah.
Do I make that a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the service provision agreement with the change of 14A being changed to the executive director at the Lakeshore Hospital Authority building and that address, and contingent upon clarification of number 6F and the background checks.
So moved.
I was about to say.
Got a motion by
How
Ms.
easy that is to remember.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
A motion by Ms. Chancey, a second by Dr. Thompson. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries.
Trustees, as per your direction, we did quote new certificate of deposit rates for investments of the authority. We received back, sent out 6 proposals to lenders who met the minimum requirements as provided for by Florida law. Of the 6, we received 4 quotes back. The 4 who responded were Ameris Bank, Drummond Bank, First Federal Bank, and TD Bank. And New Millennium and Renaissance Bank did not quote, and as requested, we did have them file a notice saying they were not quoted. So we do have all of those on file. Now, after having received the quotes, I asked Mr. Powell to review and to give his recommendation as to how we should do these CD renewals. And what Mr. Powell has recommended is that in the Patient Care Hospital Services Fund, we placed $6 million in CDs with Drummond Bank. And those CDs would be for 18 months. In the operating account, Mr. Powell recommends that we place $10,500,000 in CDs with Drummond Bank. And those CDs be for 18 months. And of course, Drummond Bank did propose the highest rate of return on the CDs for those lengths of time. The rest of the authority money will remain in the various operating accounts. I will remind you that as of 2 years ago, the operating accounts themselves are interest-bearing. So we do draw interest on our checking accounts. And unless there are questions or concerns, I would ask that the trustees approve Mr. Powell's recommendation.
Motion to approve Mr. Powell's recommendation for.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Staff report is included in the back of the packet. Hope everybody had an opportunity to look that over. And comments. Ms. Chance, do you have any comments?
No.
Dr. Thompson? Judge, thank you very much for being here.
I'd like to give credit to Ms. Lindley. Unfortunately, ma'am, you're looking at a
Yeah, I see
two-year-old
that.
statute.
Yeah,
And actually, as it turns out, this statute further fortifies the opinion that I gave you earlier. In 2018, the legislature said, as she correctly said, the legislature said 7 days before the meeting, the agenda of the event along with the meeting materials shall be available on the website. In 2020, they amended the statute to take off that second part of the phrase, which means that the legislature expressly excludes the agenda materials from being required to be on the website. So it's no longer you've asked an attorney opinion for a negative. You now have an attorney opinion for a positive.
thank you.
And
Thank you for bringing this to me.
And I
That's
want
why they do it.
to clarify that it was a mistake. It wasn't something that was done intentionally to harm any
Well, I take full
constituents. It was,
responsibility What, you know, whether it was the law or not, that's what we strive to do. That's what we want to do. We don't meet the goals that we set for ourselves. If people are accustomed to that, I apologize. I had a family emergency Monday. And because of that, I didn't get in till late. By the time I got in, Sonia had already left, so it didn't get to the webmaster until Tuesday. And then, of course, it should have been published Tuesday, but did not get published until Wednesday. So I apologize, and that's all I know to do.
thank you, Judge, for being here. You're much easier and to look at than the younger and smell better too. So we appreciate you.
You know, that's on the record.
I know it.
So you're the only thing that needs to go on the website is the agenda.
In addition to the other things like the name, address, et cetera,
Yeah.
that are required by the statute. But with respect to the meetings,
Okay.
7 days prior to the meeting, the agenda.
Okay.
But we prefer to have it all up.
Just like the continuing the Zoom meetings. I mean, I think transparency in government is important and we'll want to do as much as we can to maintain that. Mr. Douglas?
See, anything went pretty smooth this time.
All right. Mr. Williams? You have anything else for the good of the group? All right, we'll adjourn. Thank you. We've exhausted the
That was a good one.